In this lesson, we're going to be talking about antivirus evasion. Being able to deploy a piece of malware without your antivirus software detecting that the piece of malware is running on your system or is installed on your system. So how would you go about doing that? Well, the first thing you have to remember is that antivirus programs are typically signature-based. And since signature-based relies on something looking the same every time, what you can do is make sure that the malware that you're using doesn't look exactly the same as the malware that there is a definition for in the antivirus program. I'm going to create a little text file here. So you can see the hash there. All I added was a 1 and a space, so not significantly different. But look at the hash now. The hash is very, very different. And this is why malware sometimes will morph itself as it continues to spread. So every time it infects something, it tries to look a little bit different. And this is because it's trying to evade antivirus scanners so that it can continue to live a long and healthy life. So this malware is doing things like rewriting its own code as it continues to propagate. Something else that you may be able to do, in addition to just simply making some changes, is you may be able to do some sort of encryption or decryption, or even stagger your encryption or decryption. So once you use AES, another time use DES, and sometimes use blowfish, sometimes use twofish. So you can use different encryption mechanisms that may actually get you around antivirus software as well. We'll talk about packing in a little while, and packing is a way of stuffing your executable inside of something else, and this other new executable would have to unpack your software. So if you use different packing schemes, you may be able to avoid antivirus detection as well. Another thing you can do is you could encode it, or you could encode portions of it. And let me show you a little bit of encoding here. I'm going to do just some base 64 encoding. So I'm creating a string, and I'm using Python for this because Python is pretty quick and easy, and it will actually interpret on the fly. I don't have to spend time writing a program and then having it run or compile or any of those things. I can just run it right on the fly. So I'm going to print out the base 64 encoding of that string that I just created. So base 64 encoding is another way of obfuscating data so that it's harder to determine what it actually is. And so your program may end up looking a little bit different every time you compile it or run it with a different encoding algorithm. Now, we're talking about signature algorithms for doing antivirus detection. With anomaly detection, it's a little bit harder to get around because anything that looks different can cause an alert in an anomaly-based detection system. Here's an advantage, though, with anomaly-based. This is another one of those cases where you may be able to generate a lot of alarms with a lot of different things looking different, and then be able to slip in amidst the noise. In spite of the fact that signature-based has its problems, anomaly-based actually causes a lot of work with a lot of potential false positives, and you end up having to do a lot of maintenance and running down things that aren't really issues. And that's a pretty big problem when it comes to manpower and resources. The last thing they want to be doing is chasing down a lot of false positives and doing a lot of maintenance just to keep up with changes in the environment. So a few different ways of doing antivirus evasion.